Hello, and welcome to Historic Trinity Episcopal Cathedral, where I am Dean Julia with this week's short take for you to pray with and ponder. Reputedly rather meek in his manner and a remarkably poor administrator by many accounts, Gregory, the 4th century bishop of Nyssa, which is contemporary East Central Turkey, was nevertheless one of the most noteworthy theologians of the early church. He argued for the infinity of God based on the unlimited goodness of God. As God's goodness is essential to his nature, he argued, God must also be limitless or infinite. Now, an important consequence of Gregory's belief in the infinity of God was his belief that God would be ultimately incomprehensible to the limited minds of created beings like us. This gave rise to a particular understanding of humanity. Due to God's infinitude, a created being could never reach a complete understanding of God. And thus, for humanity, in both life and afterlife, there could always be progress toward the unreachable knowledge of God. St. Gregory charted a threefold path of spiritual growth: inner darkness or ignorance, then spiritual illumination, and finally, a mystical contemplation of God that influenced millennia of spiritual theologians. His view of humanity was at once profoundly humble and infinitely hopeful, which may account for why he was also one of the first Christian theologians to argue against the institution of slavery. This week, the Episcopal Church remembers an early church leader whose own quite imperfect gifts nevertheless allowed for him to be a powerful advocate for the perfection of God, toward whose infinite nature we are all capable of striving, which is to say that we are never limited by our limited nature. Thanks be to God.